Greece is bankrupt. It has so much debt, it can't really repay the debt. And when a government faces that kind of crisis, it needs some relief, just like Poland did back in 1989. Back then, when Poland was just coming out of the Soviet domination, it had so much debt that I said, give Poland some help, cut the debt. And eventually that happened. Same thing is necessary for Greece. And the longer that we postpone that move, the longer Greece's crisis continues. And that crisis affects all of Europe because it takes away confidence in the European economy. And it causes investors to hold back, to feel that the Eurozone is in deep crisis. It causes depositors in the weaker countries to take their money out of the banks. We need to solve the Greek crisis, not just keep postponing a solution. It should be understandable for everybody that Greece is broken economically. It's gone through the worst kind of depression that an economy has. And then its banks actually closed this summer because there was a depositor's run on the banks, a kind of bank panic. And so I think people can understand, those who remember 1989 could remember that Greece is going through something a bit like this. And just like Poland needed help back then, Greece needs help today. A moral economy means that people behave decently. In a normal economy these days, people say, well, I'm out to make money. If I have to cheat a bit, everybody cheats, so I'm going to do what I need to do. Look at Volkswagen. It cheated big time on the measurement of the exhausts and the efficiency of the diesel. And the banks in the United States cheated big time in 2008. The drug companies, in my view, are very unfair. They put prices way beyond anything that is reasonable. So I view our economy as not very moral right now. Now, Pope Francis has said the same thing. He should know. So he knows about a moral economy. And I believe that this is really the message, that our businesses are so thinking about money and profits all the time that they're not really thinking about their responsibility to society, to stop polluting, to tell the truth, to pay their taxes, to be honest, to stop harm to vulnerable people. And moral economy means you take care not just of the profits, but of your honesty and your decency and your respect for the environment. So we need a moral economy, but we don't quite have one yet. When people these days talk about a moral economy, some people say, that's strange. There's economy, there's morality. Morality is what you do in church on Sunday, but economy is what you do to make money. And why do you bring the two together? But I think that we better bring the two together. I'm writing right now about moral economy, partly because what Pope Francis is saying I think is very important for the world, to understand that an economy has to function within a moral framework. If it doesn't, then terrible abuses can take place. So this is a great place for this discussion, maybe a unique place. Europe is a very powerful economy, one of the world-leading economies, but it's buffeted by many crises and a lot of uncertainty. The refugee crisis, the Greek crisis, the Ukraine crisis, the divide between North and South Europe. And so I think there's a feeling, I have the feeling, that Europe is not doing as well as it should be doing. All the talent, all the productivity, all the technology is in Europe. Europe should be incredibly dynamic, world leading, but you feel every day more crisis, another crisis, another crisis, refugees, Syria. So I keep saying, solve these problems. Don't let them just continue. Reach agreements. I still have the view that Europe and Russia should try to find a way to cooperate rather than this very sharp divide. I don't think that's good for Europe. I don't think it's good for Russia. I don't think it's good for the world. I still believe that the Syrian crisis needs to be solved in the UN Security Council. I still believe the Greek crisis needs to be solved by letting Greece have some relief on the debt. In other words, my view is get these crises solved so that Europe can breathe again. I think the Eurozone has been pretty badly managed for many years. I like that Mario Draghi this year finally introduced quantitative easing, but it was a big fight inside the Eurozone, and the German representative, Mr. Wiedemann, said, don't do that. And I think that kind of German strict approach was not what Europe needed at the time. And the Greek management was mismanagement. So I think that the Eurozone came to the very edge of falling apart because of mismanagement by the leadership. I'm hoping that it doesn't come apart. I kept saying, save the euro, keep it together. I didn't like at all that Minister Schäuble was telling the Greeks, why don't you take a time out? Why don't you leave temporarily? This, to my mind, was rather provocative and not really what the Eurozone needs. So I'm hoping for good management going forward because I believe in the euro.